Right, so we're going to be looking at our Life by Pi contextual questions. I hope that you have had a chance to read through the contextual questions and do it on your own. And we are going to look at some of the questions and the way that they're asked. So the first one is, place this extract in context. What does it mean? It always means in which part of the story does this event happen. So extract C, you need to know the story very well so that you know exactly where it occurs. And preferably you should have read your book at least twice. If you haven't, you better go over your summaries. So place the extract in context will always be asked in every contextual, either Life of Pi or Hamlet. So if it is 3 marks, you are going to describe 3 events that led up to the present situation, 3 things that happened before. Comment on. So when you're commenting on, you are discussing, and you need to make valid points. That is normally a 3-mark question, which means you must make 3 good points. One of these Life of Pi question is asking about alluding to. So when you allude to something, you suggest it indirectly. You might not be saying it directly, but you are suggesting, you are hinting at something. So your knowledge of Life of Pi, you need to know all the key points of the story, the major events that take part in the plot. Know about all of your major themes. You have been taught the themes. And understand Pi as a character very well. What can you say about Pi? Okay, here's a few words that you can use. He's inquisitive. You say he's inquisitive, give evidence. Remember, as a child, he wanted to know about all the animals in the zoo. He is highly intelligent. Give evidence. He loves religion. Give evidence. So part 1, all those 3 religions that he follows. How did he come to know each religion, and what does religion mean to him? He loves science. You need to give evidence. What does he study when he ends up in Canada? Who taught him about science and nurtured his love for science in part 1? And he is resourceful. He has a great imagination. Remember, he's on the boat in part 2 with Richard Parker, and his imagination is one of the things that helps him to survive. You must know the different parts of the book. So part 1 was growing up in Pondicherry in India. Part 2 is all about his survival on the Pacific Ocean with Richard Parker and the different animals. Remember that he is 16 when the ship sinks and he loses his family and all the animals. And part 3 is in hospital in Mexico. There he is where he is interviewed by the Japanese investigators. So know what happens in each part of the book. So, and very, very important is, what does Pi learn in part 1 that prepares him for part 2 and survival on the ocean in a lifeboat with Richard Parker? All the things you make a list of everything that he learns in part 1. And how does it help him survive in part 2? You need to make notes for yourself. Know the role of Richard Parker in Pi's life. Make notes. I have taught this to you, but please write down the points. Know the symbolism of all the animals. know the first story and the second story. Why does he tell the second story? Remember, the Japanese investigators don't believe the first story, so he tells them another story that might be more believable. So please take time to read through every single question and the answer. You must make sure that you do at least 3 parts papers before you write paper 2. This will really help to prepare you for paper 2. This question is about darkness and light. It also relates to religion, because remember, he feels that religion is light, and that discussion he has with one of them, Mr. Kumar, who says religion is darkness, and Pi says religion is light. And throughout his ordeal on the Pacific Ocean, he goes through despair, darkness, which also might be considered to be hell. And he goes through, when he's able to survive and achieve something, he feels exhilarated, he feels light. So that is a really important aspect of Life of Pi. Question 9.4 is about the tone. Okay, so the tone, you know what tone is, it's the feeling. And when we're talking about Pi and his older brother Ravi mocks Pi a lot, but not in a nasty way. It's a brotherly way. So he's mocking him, teasing him, but in a very affectionate way. So they don't have a hostile relationship. They have a good relationship. In 9.5, the memo is mentioning Pi's alter ego. So that is Richard Parker is Pi's alter ego. He is an aspect of Pi. Right, 9.6 is using those words alluding to. So if the question words that I have explained already what it means, that it's hinting at yellow slide, which explains the different types of questions. 9.7, remember that in your view is which types of questions will be asked in every single paper. Justify your response by drawing on your knowledge of the novel as a whole. So there again, you're not going to just get a mark for saying yes or no. And you are going to be referring to the entire novel, not to just this extract that you have been given. Make sure you read through this memo very well. Is explaining the role of Richard Parker in Pi's life. About good Richard Parker detailed discussion. You may discuss the alter ego and if you understand it. Goes into you can bring in that discussion. Otherwise, just discuss the story and all of the things that Richard Parker means to Pi and how it helps him to survive. Once again, read through this memo very, very carefully. It is full of very, very good detail that will help you answer your Life of Pi questions. So it does mention the better storytelling and the better story. Be aware of the 2 stories that were told. This first story that was about animals, and the second story that excludes the animals, and that is in part 3 of the novel. when Pi has to explain to the Japanese investigators what happened and how he survived on the ocean. Okay, so once again, a reminder to go back over that lesson on how to plan your essay. You need to plan your essay. That will make or break the essay. You cannot write a literature essay without a plan. Really important is to mention your essay topic in your very first sentence that you write. Make sure before you write an essay that you know the story, you know the themes, you know the characters. So generally in your final paper, you get asked a broad question which contains maybe one or more themes. So how do you answer a question like that? You're going to write about the characters. Choose characters to write about. Study your characters well. So write about the characters, like if the theme is about appearance versus reality, then you choose which characters you're going to write about. It could be Claudius, it could be Hamlet, it could be Laertes, maybe not more than 3 characters, otherwise it's going to become too complicated. And really important is that you write about Hamlet. So if you're writing about a Hamlet essay, you must write about Hamlet because he is the main character. Unless you are asked to just write about the women. But generally in your Hamlet essay, you will be covering Hamlet as a character.